Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beyond SMP, where, in our last episode, we made this metric ton of progress and finished the outside of the cave. I mean, look at it. This is just crazy, the amount of work done in the one episode. And, well, as crazy as this is here, we're nowhere near done with the base. There's gonna be some blending done here, probably some revisions at some point. And the outside shell is done, yeah. But we're gonna grow trees, as well as try and, I guess, decakeify this part of the mountain. And I say that because there's like, you can very clearly see the layers, and at some point, probably off camera, I'm just gonna go around and place blocks here to break up these massive layers and to make it look less of a giant cake. But our work for today is actually partially inside the mountain, because there's a project I started a couple episodes ago. And then I made a fair amount of progress on it, and then I haven't touched it since. And that's a problem, because it's massive. I know, all the projects I'm taking on are massive. I don't know why I do this to myself, but it's massive, and we need to get it done. Wondering what I'm talking about? I'm not, because I know. But if you are, well, you'll just have to wait 3 seconds for the jump cut. Transition! See? That wasn't so bad, was it? Well, you can see the project I'm talking about is the massive nether tunnel to the Wither Skeleton farm. It is huge. And, ooh, look at that excellent flying there. And it's, ouch. Okay. My hubris caught up to me. And it's not even close to done. Like, we have the ice extends the farthest, but it doesn't even go to finished. It actually breaks up here where there's a chunk issue. But yeah. And it's still completely unusable for most of the way. Right here, you start to see iron bars start. Now you can technically use it with the boat, but it's rough. And then we finally start to get the rest of the framework to come in. And, this thing looks thick. I forgot. I haven't been here in a while. But yeah, it looks crazy. But it's not anywhere near done. So I need to work on getting this thing complete. But that's a project for off-camera me. So you might be wondering, what am I doing here then? Or why is this the project for today's episode? Well, because this farm, as you can see, requires a lot, and I mean a lot, of the nether woods, both the crimson stem and the warped stem. I pointed at the wrong one both times. It needs a ton of the stripped logs. And those things are an absolute pain to gather. It took me like an hour and a half before, like when I started working on this, to gather one shulker box of each. Actually, I think there's a couple shulker boxes of each. I don't know. I don't remember. It kind of blocked it out because it was so traumatic. But yeah, like we completely used up all of our nether wood. And we do still have some blackstone, which is nice, but it's definitely not enough. The project for today's episode is, oh jeez, that's trippy. That hurts my brain to fly. Ow, 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 oh. You know what? Let's walk. Let's walk and talk. So the project for today's episode is actually, to build slash upgrade 2 farms to work on this tunnel. The first thing I'm trying to do, you might have put it together by now, we're gonna be building a fungus farm in today's episode. and we're going to be building it in our base. It's going to be great. But there's a slight issue with that. Fungus farms are actually kind of irritating to build. Well, not really, but they take a lot of honey and they take a lot of slime. And well, I have a honey farm, but I don't have a slime farm, or at least that might be what you're thinking. But luckily, I have some level of foresight, and I have something to show you. So if we come over to the base, over here, you might remember this thing, which was my previous attempt at a slime farm that failed miserably. It's in a slime chunk, but no slimes ever spawned in this thing, and it was just a huge disaster. We dug out this hole on stream, and nothing ever spawned there. It was completely broken, never worked. So the other day, I decided, well, you know what? I said, you know what? I'm gonna fix this because I need slime for this project I'm thinking of. So I went over here, and there's this little tunnel right here. If I jump down, you can see we are now in a room that is suspiciously covered in slime blocks. And this is my slime farm. It's actually my dual slime farm. But you can see we got some slimes dropping down and immediately dying. And we should see the slime balls start to fly through. Ta-da! And they come up this tube, and they go into the massive storage system for this little slime farm. And I will admit, I went a little overboard with the storage system. This thing can hold 250,000 slime balls. Well, more than that, but that's just like that's just off the top of my head, roughly how much it can, because we have 64 double chests here. So that's nuts. I'll never need that much storage unless I go AFK here for like a month. So the slime farm itself is really quite simple. All we have is 5 platforms here that are all spawning slimes who are getting lured by these snow golems behind these minecarts. And they're all falling right down into this magma pit with minecart rails underneath. And the cool thing is, this is actually a dual slime chunk. I found 2 that were diagonal to each other. So I can make this really nice compact, ish slime farm, where I can load both chunks and get essentially twice as many spawning areas as if I had just done one. Oh, there we go. And you can see, this thing actually goes quite quick, because if a large slime ever falls in here, well, obviously that can break into 2 to 4 medium slimes. Let's say maximum amount it breaks into 4 slimes. Each of those medium slimes can then split between 2 and 4 smaller slimes. So again, let's overshoot and say that it splits into 4. So that one large slime becomes 16 smaller slimes, each of which have a chance to drop, I believe it's like 0 to 2 slime balls. So there's a chance to get half a stack in one go. So, in one slime spawn. So this thing's pretty quick. And of course, we're running it with 2 chunks active. So yeah, this is a slime farm, and it produces, well, I mean, we just emptied that. And already, 10 more slime blocks. So this place is pretty good. I did it off camera, because I was just frankly too tired to record. But yeah, turned out great. And because of that slime farm, we actually now have in our redstone chest a good amount of slime right here, as well as an entire shulker box that is more or less full of slime blocks. So, we're good for slime. We have plenty of slime. The bottleneck's actually going to be the honey, but we still have plenty of that. So, we're good to go on that front. So I guess the next thing we need to do is scope out a location for the fungus farm. Well, I guess they're technically giant funguses. So I'm thinking, well, since we have so many builds over in this area, this place is getting pretty nicely densely populated. I want to put like one more thing here, but for now it's good. I want to start filling in this area with all sorts of farms and stuff. So I think this area would be a pretty decent spot to put the tree farm. It'll be right by the slime farm here, which I still need to build like proper access to. Now I just have a decorated hole in the ground. But anyway, thinking we build the tree farm over in this area, like make a ledge here. And I have a couple plans for modifications for this thing, which are not going to be fun to do, but I think that it'll all be worth it in the end. Yeah, I think this platform should be big enough. It doesn't look that big when in the sky, just as an outline. But this thing will actually be fairly big, when everything's said and done. So this should work great. Alright, cool. Let's quick fill it in. And that'll get us the platform we'll be using to build this farm. Alright. There we go. That should definitely be a pretty nice starting point for the platform here. We got lots of room for the tree farm, and it actually, so the lighting helps make a nice little grid for the space I have to work with. The tree farm's gonna be in this center part here, but the cool bit is we're actually, so this because this is Bedrock Edition and we don't have TNT duplicators, I can't really do an auto harvest system for the tree farm, mainly because I'm not stupid. I was gonna say I'm not stupid enough to bring a wither into my base for a wither cage, but that's just not even possible to do without using like naturally spawning bedrock. So that's not happening. Besides, because if that wither gets out, to be fair, I don't know how much damage a wither could actually do in the long term to this base. Because at the moment it's very much large scale. It pokes some holes in it. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a haste 2 beacon, and I'm gonna set up cubers. So we'll have the stems be pushed out this way, and then just be cubed off here, and then maybe cubed off on this side. And just the general idea is that we'll have a ton of blocks. After using this thing for a while, we'll have massive blocks of wood that we can just quick mow down with a efficiency 5 haste 2 axe. So the first hurdle is going to be getting in the tree farm itself. So let's gather up the resources we'll need and start building. We're going to need some glazed terracotta, so let's just pop this into our super smelter. Let's say we're going to need some solid blocks here. What are we thinking? We're thinking deep slate. This is gonna We want to keep it at least somewhat in line with this, like with this area. So I'm thinking, I don't really want to make concrete at the moment. You know what? Yeah, let's do cyan terracotta. Let's grab some cyan. Deep slate though. Nope, we're doing deep slate. Not because I'm too lazy to craft the terracotta. I mean, I have tons of it up here. No, not because of that. It's because I like it's because I like deep slate. Yeah, definitely. I still have to craft this, don't I? Yeah, it's fine. Let's see. We're thinking polish, deep slate. Or are we thinking tiles? You know, I'm thinking this actually looks this looks nice. Let's use this. Cool. Alright, so I have marked out the cubes where the wood is going to be stored. So we have this, and we also have the AFK platform right here. So the trees are gonna be growing at this level. They're gonna be pushed across here, and then pushed across this way, and then I'll have them set off into two different cubers, each of which should be able to hold a decent amount of wood. And then when it's time to harvest it, I just come over here with the axe, run around here, swoop, 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 and there's going to be water streams underneath that's going to push everything down into one single collection chest. So that is the outline for this done. But now we need to get the circuitry in place for the rest of the farm, pretty much. So let's do that. Alright, let's quick test run this thing. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot about it. It's the most important bone meal. So this should be the proper test. And all we have to do is go... Cool, excellent. So this is, it's working perfect. It was working perfectly. So now we get to push this wood over here and into the cubers. This is going surprisingly well. Alright, so now what's really that's left for this part is just a bunch of bulk piston placing. And I'm not going to bore you with that, so I'm going to quick do a super fast 15-second time lapse. Right now, let's go. Alright, we have the basic redstone in place for this circuit here. For the pistons, essentially, what we have going on is every time this piston fire activates, it sends a pulse that chains up and pushes everything like this over. And this was the simplest way I could think of to actually get a pulse to extend over here. Because the thing is, I can't have anything down this line. That's a dead space, can't use it. I can't have anything in front of pushing piston. And I also can't have anything through this spot. So all this area is dead space, and I'm left with a 3-block gap. And this spot, which I can't use. So observers were the simplest spot options I had, and it works alright. And then once everything makes its way all the way over here, it gets pushed out by the smart piston wall. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good solution because everything's spaced out with the push limit. So, as you can see, as it's going farther and farther along, boom. We're no longer able to push, and that ends right in here. So we can pretty much surround this area in glass and have a nice, easy tree farm section. Or, tree farm section. A nice, easy spot to store the wood that's been mined up. So that's essentially the tree farm done. We have all the, well, it is the tree farm itself done. Unfortunately, I just lost the hand. Unfortunately, I also don't have anywhere near enough mushrooms to make this work. I used up all of my crimson mushrooms, and I have these little platforms up here set up to try and get some. But let's be honest, this isn't great. So, I need to do some thinking. Alright, after a bunch of fiddling around, I have a design set. And while I build it in the survival world, I'll show you guys how it works here in the testing world. So as you can see, I went through 3 different iterations of the design. These two both having separate sections for warped and crimson mushrooms, and they're fine, but they were losing a lot more bone meal with only about a 50% return in bone meal, like I mentioned. So they weren't nearly as efficient for bone meal. The same deal happened with this one too. So this one's just a flawed design in general because it's operating with only 3 of the 5 slices it could potentially be using. This one uses the whole slice and water to collect, and as well as shifting platforms. And while it's on the right track, it's big, it's bulky, and honestly, it wasn't working out that great. So instead, I did this design over here, which is essentially a compromise between the 2 designs. When I flick it on, you'll notice first of all, the center block that's being bone milled gets shifted across. So every time it pulses, it'll generate either crimson or warped, and then it'll switch for the next pulse. That way I get a pretty even mix of the funguses. And then the water retracts just in time to push all the drops off into the hopper stream. This hopper stream then sends the items into a sorting system that sorts out the warped and crimson mushrooms and sends everything else into the composters to be bone mealed and sent off up into this little contraption here, which is just bone mealing everything here. And one positive of this is that this specific design, it does not remain completely 100% bone meal efficient. Most times, at least one bone meal gets replaced. So it is not self-sustainable, but it also saves so much bone meal. And that's the design, and here's it built on the server. Alright, the fungus farm, the fungus producer is built, and it is working like a charm, producing me all sorts of mushrooms I can use in my tree farm, which you, funny story. So, I was working on building this. I got it finished. You see, I got everything working here, collection system going great. And so I decided to try out my tree farm, and I realized not only did I build it wrong, but my current setup would cause these pistons to, not these pistons, but the redstone dust and glass to be deleted by the tree, breaking the whole farm. So I tore down and rebuilt the farm 5 blocks to the right, and now it's working like a charm. Alright, so after that time lapse, we have a quite nice black cube to hold all of our wood that we get from the tree farm. I've actually been running this for a while, and I have a fair amount of wood, and those are the second shulker boxes I've filled. I actually made a fair amount of progress on the tunnel, the nether tunnel to the skull farm, that all of this is for. Here, let me show you. Alright, so the tunnel is done, complete, with a temporary new entrance here. We have ourselves a lovely drop all the way down to the tunnel. Now you may notice this doesn't quite match the design of the previous thing, and that's for a reason. That reason being, I got really sick of collecting nether wood, so I came up with an alternate design for this segment that uses basalt and cobbled deep slate as substitutes for the different woods, and it made things so much easier to mine. I'm realizing now I forgot to put in the walls in some bits, but I'll go back and do that. But yeah, anyway, we reach a corner, and this connects all the way down. The entire tunnel is done. And yeah, it was really tedious. It took a bunch of hours, and all in all, this was one of the most grindy projects I've had to do on the server, because unlike the mountain, this is just boring, repetitive work that you have to do short bits of, like counting out 10 blocks, put a block, 10 blocks, put a block, 10 blocks, put a block, etc. Continuing on. That is so tedious. But I got there. Like I said, this part was much easier, and pretty much everything's all constructed. Over here, we have this section here, which leads to the tunnel bore area, and this is just a little backdrop, so you don't have to see the ugliness every time you fly by. Alright, and at the very end of the tunnel, I have a little hub set up on the other side as well. So we come here, and here's just a small little hub for the Wither Skull farm. The ladder's up there, and as you can see, this is nothing big, nothing fancy. We do have a little decoration here, and some ender chests so that you can grab stuff when you need. But yeah, it does the job, and it makes it a lot nicer than the wasteland it was before during the project. So yeah, there's that project done. And I actually found something really interesting regarding respawn anchors. As you can see here, I'm holding a charged respawn anchor, and you think this might be a visual glitch, but no. If I place it down, it stays charged. Now the cool bit is if I use a silk touch pickaxe and mine it up again, it stays charged. So you can have a portable charged respawn anchor. I don't know if this is an intentional feature or if it is a bug. It feels very much like a bug, but at the same time I don't mind, because this has some really interesting ramifications as like just a thing that honestly, I'm gonna show this off in a small, different, short little video. But yeah, which actually brings me to something really important I need to talk about. So, for those few of you that watch my videos, you may have noticed that there's been at least a month gap between this one and the next one. I don't know when I'm gonna manage to get this uploaded. That's because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, school's starting up again, and it is really stressful to try and juggle this small YouTube on top of all the homework and projects I got going on, because I have an annoying habit of mine to overdo things or overinvest myself into different projects, which it leads to me feeling burnt out and really stressed. So I need to do something to deal with that, and previously the solution was really just not do this for a while, not record, but I still want to get something out to those of you who do watch my videos. So as of right now, the Beyond SMP videos are going to be moved into a slightly different format. At most, they'll be a couple minutes, if any, and they'll be more like quick progress updates on what I've been doing on the server, so that I can still work on the server and whatnot without the extra stress and time needed to put together a full 20-minute plus long video for you guys, but you guys still stay up to date on the cool things that's happening on here. It's not a perfect solution, and hopefully I can start making full proper videos on this in the future, but for right now, it's honestly just the best thing I can do to keep motivated, really. So I really appreciate you guys understanding. And yeah, that's really all I had to say. I have some stuff I got to get to, so this is all the time I have left for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know some ideas for stuff I should do for the shortened videos. Any ideas? I would love to hear suggestions from you guys. Alright, see you next time. Bye.